Because I would think that if you would ask somebody how it would feel or what it would look like, they would make that determination based on their previous experience, not on the future, not on a valid picture of the future. Am I on base or off base there?
Absolutely. And I just want to say too, thank you so much for mentioning that about dreams, because if you don't believe that your imagination is powerful, have a scary dream and you wake up and looking around your room for something scary, right? That's only your imagination. There was nothing else going on. So your imagination is hugely powerful. Thanks for bringing that up, Chris.
You're welcome.
Right. And I got to tell you, my biggest thing in life right now, my thing that I really want to get across to people, well, is the 5 minutes, but the other big thing is really you are creating what's around you by your thoughts, by what you're focusing on, and I think that's where the direction we're going for this next part.
Okay.
And it is colored by your emotions, by your experiences, by the way you kind of view the world, and you can change that. And that's and like Chris said, it's called reframing. And I'll tell you, having just gone through some major challenges and setbacks in my own life, I realize that sometimes the only silver lining is that things can't possibly get worse, and that's your reframe. And then you find out, no, they can get worse. but still, if that's all you can tell yourself, then go with that and say, well, probably things can't get any worse, so woohoo!
Yeah, until and I hate to say it that way, but until they do. I know I went through my own, as I call it, year from hell. I've talked about it on stage, and it was in the span of 10 months. My wife divorced me. I had a financial meltdown, lost everything, lost my birth mom to cancer, and lost my last adopted grandparent to an unforeseen stroke. So that was all in the span of 10 months. And every day you wake up and go, okay, this is now the worst it can get. Something else can come along. But I really like when you talk about reframing occurrences, because there's a video I just watched on testtube.com that talks about transference, and it's a topic I had heard about before, I'd studied before, but it's kind of ironic that based on our conversation today, I would have watched it just a day or two ago. And the idea of transference is the fact that you assume the way somebody's going to treat you based on what you saw as a child. So you're not really taking the current situation at face value and not really understanding how true the current situation, the current reactions, and everything is based on today's frame of reference. You're doing it based on something you might have seen as a child. In your studies, and when we're talking reframing occurrences, do you ever talk about that topic of transference, or is it does something go even further or different than that?
I haven't. I haven't really covered that before. No, No, I'm familiar with the term and what it means, but I have not. But I will tell you that I've experienced that myself. I still have a little bit of problem with this, but I recognize it, so I tried to change it. I have this maybe over reverence for authority figures, and so that kind of got me in trouble. I remember there was this comedy club in Seattle, close to Seattle, and I never actually wanted to talk to the club owners because I felt like I got to stay my distance. They're above me, and I don't want to do that. And actually, it cost me stage time. It really did, because this one club owner thought I didn't like him, and so then I thought he didn't like me, and then we with this vicious circle of neither one of us, because I won't talk to him because I have this reverence for him. And this other one, I remember he actually this club owner said to me, because I would just walk in and just go over and sit and wait for my time to go on. And he goes, "Man, you never say anything. You're just here for the money." And I'm like, well, and it really, you kind of are there just for the money because it's your job, but relationships are important, and if you're kind of too afraid, I guess, to talk to them because you think they don't want to be bothered, when really they expect to be bothered, I guess.
Yeah, well, or they like to interact. I know it's the
Yeah.
same way. it's challenging because it's the same way, I mean, I'm sure you experience this when you're on stage. I know I do as well. You get the people, you get some people who come up and are, I'll say, disrespectful and just want to consume every second of your time. And that's okay because you want to help people. And you have the people who are respectful and come up and interact and everything, but realize that there are 100 people waiting in line and everybody wants to talk. But then you've got the people who, like like you were just talking about, who won't come up to you and talk because they don't, they treat you as something different. And the worst part is those are the people who you really want to come up and talk, because those are the ones that really respect your time, and you want to get to know, you want to get to know everybody. And it's kind of, it's a shame when somebody, I've seen it happen a lot, where somebody will be sitting in the back of the room and they want to go talk to the speakers at an event, but they won't, because they treat them as they're somebody different. So for all those out there, you want to come up and talk to the speakers. Don't monopolize their time, but you want to come up and talk to them, because we're people
Look,
too.
I don't know. I mean, I love it. I mean, I want people to come up and say hi afterwards, right? I mean, don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
there may be a couple of weirdos out there. I mean, I know there's this. No, I know there's this. I went to a stage hypnosis show, and the stage hypnotist didn't stick around. All he left as soon as it was over. But I mean, that's just that's just me maybe transferring. Maybe he had something else he had to do, right? I mean, maybe he's got maybe he had diarrhea. Who knows? I mean, so,
Yeah.
I'm projecting onto him when I shouldn't do that. But really, I think most of us, we love attention, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're up there. We want people to come up and say hi. We also want to know if it moved them at all, right?
Yeah.
If you just kind of walk out, we're like, gosh, did they like it? Did they get anything out of it?
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking, I think everything we're talking about here is all about reframing occurrences. Just to make sure that I didn't take us off track and it wasn't a point you really wanted to make during this segment. Was there any point or anything you want our audience to know when it comes to reframing occurrences?
Well, the thing that I want you to understand is that um, okay. So here's the thing. So the whole world may be against you, but believing that the whole world is against you won't get you anywhere. And so I think it's just better. And I'll give you an example. I actually had I had a friend of mine. He emailed me and he said that he had just offered a homeless man who was standing outside of a Chipotle. He asked him if he could buy him a burrito for lunch, and the homeless guy said, "I'm too busy for that." And so, well, anyway, I don't make judgments, but I found it kind of amusing. And so I just put this on Facebook. I said, I told the story, no judgment. I didn't say, what I just, and I had a bunch of comments on it, and and this one girl ended up in the very end. She sent me a couple of very long emails and really complaining about my judgment and all this, and how I was a privileged white guy and everything, and clearly she didn't see my car that I was driving, but the thing is when I tried to explain to her, and I know her story. She was a homeless. She was homeless as a child prostitute. All kinds of horrible things had happened to her. But she's like in her 30s now, maybe 40s. And as long as you keep that kind of that mindset that the whole world's out to get you, you just can't go forward. You can't move forward because that's all you're going to see. That's all you're going to it's amazing the power of the mind. I'll tell you, I mean, I see this all the time with stage hypnosis shows, power of the mind, but I was even the things that I was standing right next to my one of my really good friends. I was going to officiate their wedding. I was standing right next to him. He looks right through me. He was the groom. Looks right through me 5 minutes before we go on. He goes, "Has anybody seen the Reverend, the minister, Jim? Have you seen?" I'm standing right there. He looked right at me. That's how powerful it is. If you get in your mind that there is no opportunity out there, I was talking to a woman recently. She said, "Well, nobody in Phoenix is hiring." If you go on Craigslist, there are thousands of jobs on Craigslist.
Yeah.
So you're only going to see what you allow yourself to see.
Yeah.
I hope that explained it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, that to kind of wrap this up, I think there were two big golden nuggets in here. One, when we're talking about reframing occurrences, what we're really talking about is things that have happened to you in the past They might be terrible. They might be the worst thing in the world. You might have been homeless like me. You might have been bullied like me. You might have been overweight, like Jim. There might have been some terrible things that have happened to you. You have to go back and reframe them in a different way and not let them control the rest of your life. That's one thing. The second thing is things that happen to you today and going forward. You have to take a look at them, and you might have to change your frame of reference where you're coming from to understand what they mean and understand, and maybe treat them or treat the people that you're interacting with, a little bit differently in an effort to push your life forward. And the third thing, right there at the end, I heard was how powerful the mind is. That if you think things don't exist, you can, in some ways, make them not exist. So if you think that there are no opportunities, then you're going to not see any opportunities that are out there. Not that by thinking there are, you're going to see a million of them, but at least it opens you up to the possibility of seeing the opportunities and expecting an opportunity to come your way. And that really gets us into, when you go from expecting an opportunity to come your way into making things happen, it gets into the third point of making the call.
To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.